Welcome to the Healing for the Soul podcast, with this being season number 4, episode number 22. I am your host, Robin Stoltman. Today I have my guest, Jamie Broadway, who is a certified hypnotherapist, on the show talking about using hypnosis for weight loss. And before we get started, remember, every week I feature different guests to help you become the best version of yourself through different methods you may not have heard of or thought of. So let's get started. And I'm extremely happy to have Jamie Broadway on the show because to me, she is my hypno queen for weight loss. When you hear her story, you'll 100% understand why I call her the hypno queen of weight loss. Jamie, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Hi.
Hi. Technical difficulties. We gotta love them.
Buffering just a little. We're here.
So, Jamie, what is your specialty and who do you like to work with?
My specialty is weight loss and really helping clients overcome any type of negative behaviors or habits such as addictions. I really find that most of my weight loss clients that come to me are also addicted to food. And so I like to work with that population because of my own struggles and overcoming my own problems with food.
So, real quick, what is the best way to get a hold of you with a time zone for our audience who is either tuning in or they have to catch the rest of this later?
Yeah, so I am on the West Coast. I'm in California, so I am Pacific Standard Time. Best way to reach me would be to reach out to me on social media. You can private message me on Instagram. My handle is badasshypnobabe, and you can also private message me on Facebook. My Facebook is just my name, Jamie Broadway.
Awesome. And she's got a lot of stories on there that I love to be able to hear in all her different posts too, just so that everybody knows, because I follow her myself on Facebook. Now I'm going to add Instagram to it if I'm not already on there. So who or what inspired you to do for now what you do for a living? I know you mentioned a little bit about your own things that you had gone through, but really who or what inspired you to do the hypnosis and the life coaching that you do?
Yeah, so about 7 years ago, I quit drinking. And when I quit drinking, I started having a lot of bad anxiety and panic attacks. And I was having, if you've ever had a panic attack, it's horrible. I
Yes.
don't wish it on my worst enemy. I was having 5 or 6 panic attacks a day. And so my life became unmanageable. I couldn't work. I couldn't take care of my child. I went to the doctor. They prescribed me a bunch of medications. Nothing seemed to help me. And my husband suggested hypnotherapy at the time. And I didn't really have much knowledge of hypnotherapy. And so I was a little hesitant. However, I was so miserable. I was like, hands up, I'll try anything at this point. And I'm so happy that I did because after 6 sessions of meeting with a hypnotherapist, I was able to overcome my panic attacks. In fact, it's been about 7 years. I haven't had not one panic attack. And now my anxiety is manageable. And it changed my life so much that I decided I want to study this. I want to help other people do this. And through my journey of going to school, I learned that you can lose weight with hypnosis. And when I quit drinking, instead of really dealing with the issues of why I was drinking and numbing out to begin with, then I started to reach more for food as a coping mechanism. And at my heaviest, I had become 430 pounds. And I've now lost 230 pounds, still counting. But at this point, I've lost more weight than I actually weigh right now, which is super, super exciting with the help of hypnosis. And so here I am helping people, doing what I love.
That is awesome. That's what I'm like, when I first heard about your story in the American Hypnosis Association for the weight loss certification, I'm like, oh my God, I'm like right away, like everything. I was just like, so can you tell us briefly about your weight loss journey? Because I'm like, that's what blew me away was hearing your weight loss journey.
Yeah, so 230 pounds. I want to be very clear with everybody. Hypnosis is a wonderful tool for hypnosis. It's not magic. You still have to do the good eating, you still have to move your body in order to allow the weight to come off. It did not come off all at once. There have been struggles in between. There have been periods of time where I was really good and lost a bunch of weight. I would say probably total to get to where I am now, it's taken me about 2.5 years to get where I'm at. And there have been plenty of plateaus. Learning to love my body along the way, I feel, has been the biggest challenge, but also the biggest reward of really what helped release and start shedding these extra pounds. Creating safety within the body and doing this through the hypnotic state, right? There's always a reason why we're
Mhm.
eating. And historically, really looking back, when my weight started to progress onto the body was after I was raped. I was raped as a teenager, and I progressively started to gain weight and gain weight. And it wasn't really till I really let go of drinking that the weight got worse, because I was no longer drinking. I was no longer suppressing those feelings, and I hadn't really dealt with a lot of that stuff. So being able to let go of a lot of that emotional baggage. So I walk my clients through a process of journaling, emotional freedom technique, also known as tapping, hypnosis, as well as mirror work. I teach my clients to stand in front of the mirror to tell them that they love themselves, and I help them create affirmations to change the belief about themselves so that they can start to release some of this weight. I was actually just thinking the other day, like, what is something I would have told myself that I know now at the beginning of my weight loss journey, right? And I
Mhm.
think that something I would tell myself is, stop trying so damn hard, right? Like, I have always found when I try harder to
Mhm.
lose the weight, it's harder to lose the damn weight. But if
Yep.
I'm making it about, I like to make games out of it. Like, it's fun to meal prep and create new healthy meals, right? Replacing the stuff that I didn't like and finding replacements for it. I find that to be fun. And as I find it fun, it helps me to stick on track with it. It helps me to fuel my body. I keep a food journal now still, not because I'm tracking my calories, and some people are advocates of that. I personally found that the more I tracked the calories and the stricter I was, the harder it was to keep it for me. When I What I do is I write down what I'm eating, because one, I found when I write down everything I'm putting in this mouth, I eat less. Two, I'm also finding trends. So, like, at the end of the day, I do like a check in where I'll sit in meditation for a minute and check in with the body and feel the body and ask myself, how did I feel emotionally that day? How did I feel physically that day? How did I feel spiritually that day? And then I have like a scaling system where I'll do like a happy face and like a comment of how I felt, like a little description. And the reason I do this is because it helps me, as like, if I notice that I'm having a hard time releasing some of those pounds, I'll look back at something I've been eating or how I was feeling emotionally, see if that stuff is linked to it, and then adjust accordingly to that.
Hmm. That's good to know that, especially like for the food for like the energetic wise, because I've only been able to pick up a few of them myself that I'm like, when I have wheat, I feel like crap. It's just
Mhm.
like that one thing I'm like, okay, I can't do that because like I'll notice it. I wondering like how helpful is that like in the weight loss journey part of it, like especially like when you mentioned about being raped, like how does that did you notice that there was like correlations like with the foods, like certain foods you'd want to eat more like
Absolutely.
when memories came up versus other days?
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that, Robin. Yeah, absolutely. So I have found, there's a reason we're holding on to weight. Our soul doesn't feel safe. So it puts this protective layer around us, right? And I have
Mhm.
found that as I'm getting closer and closer to my goal weight, you hear this a lot in the weight loss industry. It's harder to lose the weight as you get closer. So we like are programmed to think that. And I'm beginning to think that that's not necessarily an accurate assumption. I think that the reason it starts to get harder, and what I found for myself, is that as I get closer to my goal weight, my body is starting to be seen more. And when my body is starting to be seen more and people are noticing and making comments, even though they're good comments like, hey, Jamie, you look great. You look like you've lost weight. Subconsciously, something's happening that's saying, hey, Jamie, you're not safe. That's why we put that protective layer, so people wouldn't look at you, so you wouldn't be a victim. But logically, I also know in my conscious mind, right, that maybe the subconscious doesn't really understand, is that even if I was heavy, I still could have been a victim. It wasn't because of the way my body looked at that time. Sometimes that has nothing to do with it, right? So I find that when I'm starting to feel unsafe and I'm looking for that comfort, yeah, I definitely reach for more sweets and ice cream. Those are things that were kind of programmed in as, this is going to make you feel better as a child. Started really young. My mom also struggles with being overweight and weight loss. And I can remember my whole life up and down her yo-yo diets. I mean, when I was a teenager, she took me to the weight doctor and gave me prescription like diet pills to start losing weight, because she was concerned I was starting to get heavy. Little did she know what I was dealing with, because I hadn't shared what I was going through. All she knew was, hey, my daughter's overweight and I don't want her to struggle. In her mind, she thought she was helping me. But really, what she started to do is create this horrible relationship with my body that I've now still daily working on fixing that relationship, to love the body, even where I'm at, even at my heaviest, right? Like loving and appreciating what the body did. And when I was young, or I would get hurt, or I was sad, she would always be like, oh, let's go get an ice cream sundae. That's going to make you feel better. So now, whenever I'm sad, whenever I'm hurt, or I'm scared, or feeling unsafe, my body now wants ice cream. So what have I done? I've started finding alternative things, like, right? Like, I don't starve myself. Life is supposed to be enjoyable, right? And that's
Yes,
also
it
the
is.
key of like really long-term weight loss, is it's a lifestyle change. It's not a diet. So like, I found that if you take frozen bananas and you blend those and you put a little bit of vanilla extract in it and maybe some peanut butter, now you've got yourself like a textured type of ice cream that's really healthy. You know, it's not junk that you're putting into your body. And so
I'm gonna
finding
try that.
yeah, it's really delicious. Like, there's all kinds of different like recipes and things. And so I'll spend some of my free time following people that are like nutritional health ads and things, like, not ads, but you know, like their pages and things, and getting
Yeah.
ideas, and then experimenting with my own way of doing it. So yeah, I definitely see that, and I honor that when I do feel that way. So this is the key as well, is like, not not saying, hey, you can't have that because that doesn't fit into my meal plan. But if you are going to cheat, because trust me, I still indulge sometimes, and that's probably why I'm not at my goal yet, because I'm still working through some of this stuff, right? I'm human. We make mistakes. We hit bumps in the roads. We're not robots. If it was
No,
that simple, then we would all be thin, right? We would all be thin.
true.
It'd be simple. But it's not.
That is very, very true.
And so really honoring yourself when you're feeling that way, and doing it in a more mindful way versus in a shameful way, right? So the difference in behavior is this, is that when I'm allowing myself to have a treat, being intentional about that treat, being mindful about it, looking at it, seeing the texture, seeing the colors, smelling it, right? Taking deep breaths, really enjoying the bite, each and every bite to the very last drop, versus before, I was hiding it, and I would be in with my spoon in the freezer, gobbling it down really quick so no one knew, right? But the only person I'm lying to is myself. And then I knew I felt like shit afterwards. So
True.
that little bit of mindset will, one, help you eat less of it, and two, creating the new relationship around food, because it's really the relationship you have with food that's really needing to be healed as that emotional stuff comes through. And then with hypnosis, as the emotional stuff comes through, then we can change the emotional charge around it to help you to get through that, find coping skills for when those cravings come up for those foods so that you can keep on track, so that you can continue to release the weight.
That's awesome. That's one of the things I was actually thinking about because, like, I know how it works for the weight loss and like for the hypnosis and like when kids are little. And that's why I
Uh-huh.
got to thinking, like my own kids. I'm like, am I helping my kids become have my kids are all skinny, except for the one. But
Mhm.
I'm like, am I helping all of my kids become heavy like me just because, like, if I want them to clean, I give them like a piece of candy bar.
Uh-huh.
I'm like, am I, like, training their brain, like, clean? You get sweets. And then I'm like, "Well, maybe that's what I'm doing," but I'm like, "How else am I gonna motivate them?" You know, so it's like trying to figure that part out. Because yeah, you are right, we do get, that motivation, like you said about for your mom, she, gave you ice cream.
Yeah.
Like, but that doesn't, like, help the problem either.
Yeah, so I have a teenager. My daughter just turned
Mhm,
16, and my daughter's at that point in her life where she's starting to notice I'm starting to become voluptuous. I'm starting to have hips. She went to the doctor. The doctor told her she needed to lose weight. She came home crying. She told me, "Mom, the doctor fat shamed me." And I said, "No, that's what you heard. The doctor did not fat shame you. The doctor told you for your height, you should be at this weight. So if that's something you want to work on, let's talk about healthy eating. Let's talk about moving the body, not hating the body. Let's talk about loving the body for where it's at, right?" I never push what I'm eating on my daughter. I always invite her to have what I have. And sometimes I find myself cooking different meals for myself than for her. Slightly, not much, to be quite honest with you. But what I
mhm.
have found is that because I keep an open dialogue and there's not shame around it, that she does end up picking healthier snacks. Like, she's a big sweets person as well. She really likes candy, and she was probably like 12, 14 before I really got into this new healthy lifestyle eating. So, like, she does have that same programming as before. And so I found a new healthy snack that we both really love that is something that I make, and it's super easy. It's just like dates. You take dates, you cut them open, you pit them, put some peanut butter in them, melt some dark chocolate over it, and then you stick them in the freezer, let them set, and then you keep them in the fridge and you can pop them in, and that's a nice little sweet treat, but it's also a healthy treat. And so we replaced that instead of some of the candy bars, and her face started to clear up. So, like, I explained to her, like, look, these are the results of some of the healthy eating. And of course, she's a teenager, so she's going to go out and with her friends, but it's like, it's not about being perfect 100% of the time. It's about that 80-20, right? Really finding that balance in life. Like, okay, if I'm going to indulge, cool, I'm going to indulge this day, but the rest of the week, I'm going to be fueling my body with really healthy, nutritious food to keep the body going. And I'm going to continue working out in between.
I
So
like
I don't
that.
think it's that I don't think it's that you're training your kids bad. It's just maybe if you're worried about the intake of candy, finding alternative treats that they do like to give them instead of that, right?
True, that would be the whole peanut butter jar in their case.
I know. If I had it my way, I would have the whole peanut butter jar too.
Well, me, I'm just like, I don't know how they can do it because I don't care for peanut butter that much. But I'm like, my kids, I mean, like that's the way to keep them busy and happy for about a good hour if they're not playing with something else, like their cars and trucks and that. But I'm like, you just gotta give them like the peanut butter jar and they're happy. Um, so what triggered you to think of hypnosis as far as being able to lose weight? You had mentioned that your husband had mentioned it for the
Uh,
hypnosis for weight loss. So what made you really want to try it then?
So the original reason why I went to hypnosis was for my panic attacks. It wasn't until I was in school learning about hypnotherapy that I learned that you can use hypnosis for weight loss. And that's really when the transition started. I kind of was still skeptical, and I was like, well, and I was already seeing my hypnotherapist and I had talked to her about it a little bit, and we did some hypnosis around it. And then I went home and I learned that in hypnotherapy school that we're most suggestible to our own voice. So I went home and I wrote my own scripts, and I recorded the hypnosis recordings, and I started listening to those in conjunction with working with my hypnotherapist. And that's really what's kept me on my journey. I mean, and I still see her to this day because there's still stuff I'm working on. And one of the things, I just saw her last week, and one of the things I told her is, I'm like, I was doing so good on my workouts and now I hit a stump. And she's like, well, what's wrong, Jamie? What do you mean? How long has it been since you haven't worked out? And I was like, it's been a whole week. And she's like, 1 week, Jamie? It's okay. Give yourself some grace. And then we did some hypno work around getting back to working out. And then now I'm back on my track again, like, so, like sometimes people have this concept that we think that hypnosis is the cure all for everything. And hypnosis is a wonderful tool, and it gets us past that resistance, along with the work that we do in between seeing our hypnotherapist. It's also, what it does is, I find that it helps lower the resistance of the things that we don't want to do, if that makes sense. It helps me when I don't want to work out, and I've done hypnosis around getting back on my workout routine. It's like, I may still have that thought that I don't really want to, but then I'm also bombarded with the reasons of why I do want to and how good I feel after that workout. And that's really what's like, okay, put your clothes on, let's go. And then by the time I'm thinking I want to do this, it's over with. And then nobody feels bad after a workout. You feel amazing. You're like, yeah, I feel awesome.
That is very, very true. Because I'm just like, yeah, for me, I'm like, right now with my own weight, I'm like, I don't want to do it because of the trauma that I've been through. I'm like, got to feel safe first. So, like, in my own thing, I'm like, I can do exercise. I'm like, I'm okay with exercising, but I'm like, for whatever reason, doing anything else, nope, not okay. So I like purposely avoid the scale because I'm like, I'll just go buy my pants. I'll see how my pants feel, and we'll go buy that instead. Because
something I do when I'm avoiding the scale, because I know you took the same course as I did for weight loss and hypnosis, and I do a lot of the same as how the course was taught to us, but I've also developed my own way of what works for me. And what I've noticed working with my clients is that weighing myself every day was counterproductive. It got me stuck in my head and ruminating about how I wasn't where I needed to be. So I would pull the scale away and I would only weigh myself once a week. And then if I started feeling shitty about it, sorry if I'm not supposed to cuss. If I wasn't feeling good about stepping on the scale because the number was not reflecting what I thought it should, I started putting a Post-it over the number and putting it at my goal weight and using it as an opportunity, as like celebration. I would step on it and be like, yes, I did it. I'm at my goal. And really get in touch with that feeling and allow that to simmer into the body. And then I was like, okay, cool. It kept me motivated. It kept me wanting to keep moving forward because I wasn't frustrated that I wasn't moving anywhere.
I like that. I think I'm going to do that. I think instead of looking at my bank account, I think I'm going to just start like, okay, I'm not looking at the bank account. I'm just going to think happy thoughts instead of looking at where I'm frustrated at.
Yeah, it's a wonderful exercise. I mean, as you know, the subconscious doesn't know what's real or pretend. So if we keep rehearsing this way of being, eventually the physical world is going to have to show us, along with our efforts putting into it. Obviously, I don't want people to misunderstand what I'm saying.
Anything.
Yeah, but it's honestly, it's a complete equal effort of both the effort as well as the visualization that really gets you there. Something I have on my wall is I have a goal board and I have a picture of what I want my body to look like. And I cut out my head and taped my face on that body. Now I look at that every morning and every night before I go to sleep when I'm already in those natural states of hypnosis. Really getting my subconscious in line is that's where I am. And I can tell you that I'm so close to that at this point. And when I'm waking up, when I'm in that natural theta state and I'm starting to like open my eyes and look, if I look just right, that is me. There's not another body there. That is my body in that bikini.
I'm gonna start doing that with my vision board because I have a vision board, but I'm
Uh-huh.
like, the only thing I don't have up there is like what my house looks like on the outside. I'm like, I
Oh
got everything on
yeah.
inside the house. I'm like, I got the indoor swimming pool in there. I've got the kitchen. I've got like everything else, and I'm like, I'm missing what the house looks like on the outside. But then
Yeah.
I got like money around it. I'm like, I think I'm gonna start doing that because that's probably what I'm missing is I need to put my face on the $100 bills. I, I took it. I copied some because I'm like, I'm not gonna sit here and go put it out there. But I'm like, might as well put
Yeah.
it on the vision and do it that way. Did you find that to be more powerful, like when you put yourself on there as far as moving towards your goal of the weight loss? When you put
Yeah.
yourself on there?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I found it to be very helpful when I saw that it was then when I see it's me. So some people may already have a picture of what they used to look like that they want to, and you can use that as well. I just did not have a picture of what I wanted to look like, so that's why I chose. And it's not like super skinny. It's attainable. It was, and so even when I get to that goal, I may say, "Hey, I want to be less than that," and it may change. But until then, that's what's working, as well as using affirmations of what my goal weight is. So I switch out my affirmations because I do like a check in. I'll do like a certain set of affirmations for like 90 days. And then I'll do a check in and see how I feel and what I need. But the weight loss, because I'm not at my goal yet, is always one that's constant. And it's just, I am so grateful that I am now 150 pounds. And that's something I say to myself every single day, couple times a day. And
That's
so,
awesome.
I mean, it's a whole thing that you put together, and we forget that. People really see weight loss as, oh, it's only it's calories in, calories out. It's you got to work out this much time, and you got to eat this and you got to eat that. And yes, that is part of it. But I did also do that as well without doing any of the emotional stuff, and the weight was stuck because the body didn't feel safe. So really creating that safety and doing mirror work, standing in front of the mirror, putting your hand on your heart, putting your hand on your belly, and telling yourself, I love you. You're safe. It's okay. You're strong. You're worthy. You're enough. And if it's hard to say that stuff at first, I always tell clients, start with, I'm learning to love you. I'm learning to feel safe, right? And then switch the next week to I am. The more you do it, the more you feel it.
True. I think I'm gonna start doing
Mm.
that in the mirror for myself because I'm like we talked a little bit before. I'm like, I've got one part down. I'm thinking I'm gonna add what you just said to that,
Mhm.
but in the near part of it, and just say,
Yeah.
I already love you. We're working on this. We're gonna get through this together.
Yeah.
That I don't know what it is, but it seems like it's more powerful, like looking in the mirror when you're doing the affirmations.
It
I don't
is.
know.
When you look your eyes and yourself, when
Mhm.
I first started, I was bawling my eyes out. I was crying when I started opening my mouth and saying, I love you. I was like, wow, whoa, why? But that just shows there was that like hurt person in there, right? And the more
Mhm.
I say it, the more I embody it, the more I feel it, the better I feel it. It's a whole energetic shift that happens.
That would explain it then, because I'm just like, I used to beat myself up really good. I could do a lot, and then now I'm like, I can't do it anymore like I used to. One of the things I was thinking about too is like, have you used like the mental bank or like, did you have like weight loss surgeries that didn't work? Because like I had the lap band and that just didn't work. And I'm like, I think I'm seeing a trend like all diets that are just like true diets out there. I think that's the one thing that they miss is the emotional aspect of why we eat what we eat. So I just wanted to
Yes.
like hear your opinions on that.
Yeah, that's like a big part of my story. I can't believe I forgot to tell that part. Yes, at the beginning of my weight loss surgery, at the beginning of my weight loss journey, I did have surgery. I had the lap band, and I got really deathly ill from the lap band. And they didn't really know why. For the first like 6 months, I couldn't keep food down. I was literally living off of protein shakes, and maybe mushed up avocado was about the most I could get down and keep down.
Oh,
And
wow.
so they loosened the band all the way, and I was still struggling with that. And I didn't really lose any weight. I lost maybe 40 pounds at that time. And people think, oh, you weren't eating anything, you would have been losing a lot of weight. But no, what happened is the body went in survival mode. So it really like sucked everything and held on to everything because it thought that it was starving. And I started
Mhm.
getting really dark circles under my eyes. And finally, I kept going to the doctor, and I was like, no, something is wrong. Like, this is not normal. And so they did this scope down my throat and found that I was allergic to the material, and there were sores all on the
Wow.
inside of my stomach, and it was inflamed, and that was causing nothing to be able to go down. And so they ended up doing an emergency surgery. I had the lap band removed, and they asked me if I wanted to do the gastric sleeve at that time. And what the gastric sleeve is where they cut a portion of your stomach, but they don't reroute your intestines. And at that point, I was like, absolutely not. And they're like, well, we're already going to have to cut a portion of the sores out of your stomach for your stomach to heal. It's not that much more. And they were like really trying to push it on me. And I was like, no, cut what you need to cut out, put me back together, and get this band out of me. Like, I'll be fat for the rest of my life. This is not what I want for my life at all.
Mhm.
And so yeah, after that, I really just went at it like low carb. And this is before I went into hypnotherapy school. This was probably a year or two before I went into hypnotherapy school. And
Mhm.
so I just kind of like slowly was losing, but not anything like I was losing once I started using hypnosis and really figuring out why emotionally I was hanging on to the weight as well. Like, identifying those things and looking at the shadows really helped to feel and release that energy so that I could feel safe enough in the body to allow the weight to release out of the body. And I like to use the term release a lot because when we say lost, right? Like, you think you're going to find it. I have no intention of finding that weight again. I have no intention. I'm losing I'm releasing it, and it can go elsewhere because it's no longer needed here.
That's why I tell everybody, like, when I'm doing my own stuff, I'm like, I'm just releasing it, letting it go, because I don't have any intention at all whatsoever in getting back any of my problems I've already released. I'm like,
Yep.
bad stuff can stay away, all this other stuff can stay away. I don't have any intentions for it. But I will say, one of the things that I did, I don't know, um, did you do tapping like for the cravings? Because I did that. And
Yes.
I wish
And
I
it's
wouldn't have done that
really
on the
helpful.
chocolate covered cherries. I love chocolate covered cherries, and I wish I wouldn't have done that because it's like I can't eat them now. 2 years, I still can't.
Wow. Yeah, I do tapping for cravings. I will note I did notice this, that the less sugars and less
Mhm.
carbs I have in my diet, the more like whole foods that I eat, the less cravings I actually get. So at the
Oh,
beginning, it
really?
was yeah, it was really pertinent at the beginning of my journey. And every once in a while, of course, I get cravings for things, right? But as I'm eating more fruits and vegetables, whole foods, less carby foods, less processed foods, I'm having less and less cravings for any of that stuff. It's the chemicals we're addicted to that we keep wanting. It's and I actually have talked to an addiction doctor. I work in addiction. I work as a hypnotherapist at a rehab center, and then one of the addiction doctors had actually told me that sugar is more addictive than heroin, which is
I
crazy.
wouldn't doubt it.
And there is sugar literally in everything. If you start really reading labels and what you're putting in your body, like, it's hidden in all the stuff. It's
It's
crazy.
as bad as wheat. It's like you
Yeah.
can't it's like wheat and sugar, like the 2 number 1 things that are killing all of us, but yet it's in
Mhm.
everything.
Yeah.
So, it's just so do you ever use, like, the mental bank to help you, like, to stay on
Yes.
the weight loss journey?
Yes. So I do still to this day use Mental Bank. And part of my paid items that I get for myself is sticking to my meal plan, is moving the body, and some of the other stuff is like business stuff and other things around the house. But yes, I do use that as motivation, and it feels really good to be able to pay myself when I'm like at the end of the night, I'm like, yeah, I did my workout today. That's right.
Yeah, I like mental bank. I fell off of it for a little bit here, and I'm just like, I got to get back to it because I do notice there's a big shift. There was like a big shift, like from doing the paper that I did online,
Mhm.
and I'm like, this online just isn't working for me. My husband's
No.
like, I already told you, don't do it online. You're just wasting money. I'm like, I just wanted to see if it, I'm like,
No, I'm a big advocate for old school writing it down. I even after I do it, I put my mental bank under my pillow, like so that it seeps into the brain. I'm one of those weirdos. I'm like, it has to go in the under the pillow. That's how it knows. It's gonna just seep in. And my husband's also a hypnotherapist, and my husband's like, okay, Jamie, but then he started doing it too. So
I would do that, but my problem is the kids. They take off of my mental bank, so I'm like, man, trying to get it
oh
in
yeah.
like one spot, and then like if they're not
Mhm.
messing with the CPAP and they're not messing with the mental bank, it's like, can you just quit being in my room altogether? So I finally got to the point with the CPAP. I'm just like, kids, if you don't leave that alone, mommy dies, daddy dies. End of story. Don't touch.
Mhm. Yeah.
'Cause I've seen deaths from the CPAP, and that's not good. But
No.
yeah, I'm gonna try that with the mental bank if I can. Maybe if I stick it in one part underneath my pillow, maybe the kids won't catch it, like in the cover, like part of it,
Yeah, maybe you could stick it underneath, like, in the pillowcase so that they don't know it's
Yes,
there.
that might work for me. I'll have to try
Yeah.
that one because
I
yeah, that'd be
You'll have
kind
to
of
keep
neat
me
to see if it
posted.
seeps in.
Yeah,
Huh?
keep me posted. I wanna know, how's that work for you?
Well, yeah, that'd be good. So, what inspired you to keep going? Because was there any parts like in your journey that you thought that you just like couldn't make it? I'm just like, what did you do
Yeah.
to like turn it around?
There have been many times where I wanted to give up. If I'm being really super honest, I mean, even there was a time, like, probably in the last month where I'm like, "Okay, I'm just gonna accept this is as much weight as I've lost, and I can't go forward. It's not gonna happen. It's not in the cards for me in this life." But then I sit down and I remember why I'm doing this. I'm not doing this because I want to be a certain size. I'm not really doing it because I want to be like 150 pounds so I could brag about it. I'm doing it because I know that when I have less weight on my body can work more efficiently and I can have more energy. And that was
True.
always the key for me. The key reason why I always wanted to lose the weight was because I wanted to feel healthy. I wanted to have more energy. I wanted to not have to be on a bunch of pharmaceutical drugs and be sick. And as I've lost the weight, that has been true. When I first started my weight loss journey, I was on blood pressure medication. I no longer have to be on blood pressure medication anymore as of a year ago. And that feels really good to not have to
That's
take something
awesome.
every single morning. I take supplements and vitamins because I choose to, but not have to, right? Like I don't have to take something because I'm sick anymore. And so remembering the whys, why you started, remembering having a really big enough why. And part of that was I want to be here for my kid. I want to be able to chase after my kid. And that's really when the weight loss journey started. Was I was so fat and heavy that I couldn't chase my kid. I was like
That's where I'm at.
it sucks. That's a hard feeling. That doesn't
Yes.
feel good, you know?
No, because they're faster than me, and well, I got a bunch of them. I got four of the five full time, and I'm just like, and they can outrun me, and I'm like, they all go in one. They all split directions. They know how to they know how to get away. But of
Yeah.
course, if I was lighter, that would work. But then I also noticed. So I know that like another myth. To me, it seems like it's a myth. But is it really just the first 10 pounds is the hardest to lose? Or is it the equal?
I
Like, no matter how many it is.
well we have a
You froze there, Jamie.
it needs to be done. Oh, okay. So
Hold
we put
on.
on ourselves to say that we have to lose. Am I good now? Yeah, the more pressure we
Yes,
put on
now
ourselves
I
of
can hear you.
having
Yes.
to lose the weight. Yeah, yeah, the more pressure we put on ourselves to have to lose the weight, I think the harder it becomes. I think it's as easy as we allow ourselves to let it be easy. Finding joy in your exercise. Like, I always find exercises that are fun. When I work out because I have to work out, I'm not going to work out. If I work out for the joy of being able to move and celebrate my body, then it's a whole different ballgame. Then I will work harder. I'll go longer. It's really interesting how the mind works.
Yeah, it is, because I'm glad that you said that, like, for about, like, the exercise portion of it, because I don't know what it is. Like, I've tried so many. I've got, like, I want to say at least like 20 different exercise things at home. Like, for videos, I've like got like the Billy Blanks and like all these other ones. And I'm like, but when I did my Richard Simmons, the Sweat into the Oldies, I don't know what it is
Uh-huh.
about that, but I can do that one, the whole thing, compared to all the other ones. I'm like,
It's probably the
it's like
music in it. The
fun.
music has a lot to do with it.
True.
Yeah.
That is very true. I was gonna keep finding the exciting ones that excite me and keep me going. For my kids, it's we're not gonna take it
Yeah.
anymore. So yeah, I've really enjoyed this conversation about like the hypnosis and the weight loss, and just like the weight loss in general, with the how you went through like your entire journey. And I like how upfront and honest you are, that it's like it's not a one and done like a lot of people think that hypnosis is, or that we're doing stuff to them, because it's like I deal with that all the time, and it's like, no, it's never a one and done.
No.
It's so much. You still have to do a lot of work, but you just can't expect the hypnotherapist to do it all for you. I'm like, if we could wave a magic wand, I mean, like, I'd make myself skinny. I'd have all my problems gone. And like everybody would have, I'd have all their bank account money. I'm just saying. But unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. Don't you? I think everybody could tell that I'm joking by that. If you couldn't, then I can't help you. But I was just joking on that part. I'm just saying. I'm sure you get a lot of that too. Like for people that you've seen, they're
Oh, yeah,
like,
I always get people think of hypnosis and they think of it as mind control, and they think of it of like what they've seen in the movies, like Get Out. And I'm like, no, actually, you're in control, and I don't have control of your mind. In fact, I tell them at any time they're not wanting to be in the journey that we're doing, they can open their eyes. It's not up to me, it's up to them. And it's not going to work unless they believe it's going to work. They have to believe it's going to work for them.
yeah,
Really educating them what hypnosis is and what it's not is big part of my job.
yeah. More than anything, some days I swear it's like that's all I do is teach and teach and teach, and then I'm like, maybe I'm in the wrong field. Maybe I just need to be the teacher part of like what it is that we do. But yeah, I've really enjoyed this conversation a lot. So, and I really appreciate you being on here, Jamie. Like for all of your just like everything in general. Like I said, to me, you're my weight loss hypno queen, because I'm like anybody that can lose
Aw.
a lot, like, and by a lot, I mean like to me, like any more than 50 pounds using hypnosis, or because like these stories are unheard of, because it's always focused on the medication, focus on the diets that never work and all this other stuff. And I'm like, no, you are like my true like hypno weight loss queen. So I'm like, yes. That's why I'm like, I
Thank
know it's
you.
possible because I've seen you do it. So that's like, I
It
know it's
is.
possible.
It's totally possible. You're gonna get there too. We all can get there. It's the key is every day approach it as a new day and really finding that self-care, that self-love, and keep moving forward. We're gonna have bad days, and it's okay, right? It's okay to have a fucking bad day. Just don't stay
Yeah.
there. Don't stay there. Get back up and keep moving. Brush yourself off and say, all right, I had a bad day. Time to move on. Let's go. So I ate too much yesterday. Tomorrow's a new day. Tomorrow's a new day. The next meal's a new meal, right? Don't be so hard
Yes.
on yourself.
True. I'm like, if I want to eat the cake, just let me have the cake. I guess it's kind of like when I told my husband a few times in pregnancy, because I've been pregnant so much, and he finally figured it out. I don't remember what pregnancy number it was. He finally figured it out that when I say get me food, I don't care how it has to happen. You're just give me food and you'll survive. Nobody will get hurt. I certainly don't remember what's like when it was, but like I'll never forget that. You have like those moments you never forget. Like
Yeah.
mine was the French fries. I'm like, first pregnancy, I'm like, he looked at me, dumbest thing that ever came out of his mouth. He said, "Well, you said we didn't have any money." I'm like, "I don't care. Find a way to get the money. I need my French fries." He was making them homemade, so but
Aw.
but yeah, I'm just like, "I don't care. Just find a way to do it." I like that when you said about the food. That's why it's like an instant reminder for me of that good moment of like,
Yeah, I mean, we're
we
gonna
gotta
have
do
those
that.
times. Totally, you have to honor it. Honor that craving, right?
Yes, most definitely. Well, I've enjoyed this so much, Jamie. So what's the best way, one more time, for everybody to get in contact with you and follow you and get a hold of you?
Yeah, follow me on Instagram at Badass Hypno Babe. Follow me on Facebook under my name, Jamie Broadway. If you want to reach out to me, feel free to private message me, and we can connect more. I'm looking
Awesome.
forward to it.
Thank you so much, everyone who is either tuning in via video or through the podcast. I appreciate your time, your energy as always, and have a great day.